Okay, welcome back to the channel. So I was looking for a good lithium stock to talk about, but I couldn't find anything worth talking about. Like, you want to buy something low that you know is probably going to get in production before everyone else buys it, and you probably want to buy it when it's low on the chart as well, because people out there look at the chart and say, oh, that's high, but you want to look at the numbers, you want to look at everything and tick all the boxes. So compare this to its peers. Not going to do that to everything in this video, but it's 31 million. Similar companies, probably about more towards 50 million, so they're better on price slightly. They've got 8 million in cash. They got a. You also want something that's going to production quicker. It's got a low capex. Like, you want a company that has to spend less money to build it, to get out of the ground, than the next player, because you're going to use that project first. So how do I know they got a low capex? Because they're basically the same as Renascore, same area, probably same deposit styles. Renascore, they're spending $100 million on the mine to get out of the ground, and then they're spending another $100 million to process it into spherical balls, speared balls that go into the anode of battery. So, and they're low cost too. If you do the research, Renascore, the operational cost per ton is quite low compared to everyone else, and the capex is quite low to everyone else. And guess who's right next to them with pretty similar deposit styles? ITM. But you don't have to pay 500 million for ITM. You could probably buy it. Let's go to Renascore here. So Renascore once was a 1 cent company before it got to where it is now. So what's happened since then? They've had deals with the government for free, $200 million loan. Obviously drilled out, done a bit more research, but I see ITM easily becoming them, if that makes sense. So a bit about ITM. You got a rare earths project. So rare earths go into the motor of an electric vehicle. The magnets, you send electricity, makes electrical field, and spins the magnet around. Rare earths motor. If you don't have a rare earths motor in the car, you're only going to get half as far because it's way less efficient. So therefore we need rare earths. So they've got a rare earth deposit, which is pretty big as well. If you research 200 million ton target for rare earths, and then you got low percentage, and it's a clay deposit. They're doing the metallurgy now, so seeing the best way to get the rare earths out of the clay. They use acid to do so, so they're working that out now. But their graphite, they don't have. A lot of other graphite players need to use acid to get the graphite out. They've got to 99.99% without acid on this, on their Lachrome, this Campuna one, and fair to say it's pretty much similar. It's going to be the same for the other two big deposits they have. I'll go into a second. So these guys tick all the boxes, like environmentally friendly, good location. Look, port right there. South Australia is pretty much all on renewables, wind and solar. I actually spoke to ITM the other day, and he said, yeah, the super funds that will easily build a solar plant for us, and we'll use that. They're on wheat farms, so you think they might upset the farmers, but really they're only a small part of the farmers' land, and they're going to compensate farmers for using it. So they also have a lot of good videos to watch on the YouTube channel that explain it better than I will, and just think it's a really good company. So they got the rare earths, and then they got these graphite projects. So this one's a JORC resource, means they've drilled it a fair few times. They know exactly what's there with a fair certainty. These ones have been drilled, but not as many times. But obviously they get a magnet on a helicopter or plane, so they picked up this thing. They've drilled it already, so they confirmed the thing giving the magnetic reading was graphite. And what's going to happen now, the 8 million they've raised, they're going to drill it out more. And pretty sure, even if they only find half that, that's still a 30-year mine life. This is a 10-year mine life. These two here, 10 or 15 at 50,000 tons. These ones probably 50-year mine life at 100,000 tons. So even if they only got half the amount, so I think they're waiting for the wheat harvest. They're going to drill these after. And the rare earth project is close by as well, so everything's in the same place. Don't have scattered projects, which is some benefits in exploration, I guess, in your team. So what else can I say? If you didn't know, graphite, big part of the lithium-ion battery. You got synthetic graphite, which is made out of a byproduct of petroleum coke, or you got natural graphite, which comes out of the ground. And it's about 50-50 going to the battery, but we're heading more towards natural graphite for it's more environmentally friendly. and it also has benefits in the battery as well. Too much to talk about in this video. So we want 500 million to 600 million tons of graphite to meet the demand. So a lot of graphite needed right now. If all the big companies, heaps of graphite, just like there's heaps of lithium, there's heaps of graphite, and if these companies have spent that money to get out of the ground now, they couldn't sell it all. But around 2026, 2030, there's going to be a lot of graphite, and we're going to need a lot of companies to come on and meet the demand. Yeah, so 330 mines, that's for all the products, lithium, graphite, everything. But a lot of graphite needed. So ITM, if you want to do your research and tell me it's not better than all the other players, I'm pretty sure it's just up with the top 5 best under $50 million. A $50 million market cap or less. ITM, probably the best one out there, in my opinion, due to location, due to metallurgy, due to big resource size, due to be all in Australia. They actually have the mining lease for the smaller projects, they get it for the other ones. So they have graphite, they have rare earths as well. The price is good, they got cash. It could go lower, it could go to 30 million to 15 million if stuff goes totally wrong. People freak out, that's the risk you take. But guess what if it goes up to 40 cents and then you're like, oh, I should have paid 26 cents for it. So you never know where it's going to go. But fair to say, in 2030 or 2025, or even before, if there's something freak out about graphite going up, this will go up. So it is a risk, there's always a risk there, and you can buy it and go even lower, or you can not buy it and then miss out and then buy it higher and then it will drip low again. But fair to say, that's why you buy something that will get into production. A pretty high chance these guys will get into production. So yeah, you always want to buy something with a high probability of getting into production, is what I think. And so next best ones, there's VRC. So these guys actually have a working mine in Ukraine, but it's in the wartime, so they can actually ramp this up with say Ukraine wasn't in war right now, they could ramp this up to 100,000 tons and make $100 million a year with not much cash spent. But Ukraine's in war, so they can't do that, so that's why they're not. So if the war turns around, pretty sure this price will go up. It's quite low, it has actually been to 1 cent. So the reason I would buy ITM over this is because it's in war and stuff like that. They also have another big project in Africa, which is huge. They spend 200 million, they make $200 million a year for 22 years selling graphite. And guess they can do a smaller project, which they spend like 30 million, do a bit of graphite, and then they can spend the $200 million to ramp up when the demand is needed in graphite. So pretty good company here. So even if they didn't have that Ukraine one, it'd still be pretty decent, because it's got that Ukraine one and that one. That's why it's probably around this price, I'd assume. They also have some lithium things which aren't really worth talking about. So Vault Resource is pretty good. I think they just raised $10 million of cash at 1.8 cents. So people dived in to buy it at 1.8 cents and went down. So pretty decent company. I guess when the war does turn around, it'll be too late, or maybe the war turns around and you see it's down low, you could still get in. Up to you. So that's another decent one. 50 million market cap, so $20 million more. Or they do have a PFS. They do have like downstream stuff as well with America. So look into this one, pretty good one. Even with the fact that their nice mine in Ukraine isn't in operation. So another one. This one's in Western Australia. They have the downstream as well, where they get out of the ground, purize it, make it into balls, and they coat it all in-house. And they've came down a bit, which I thought was, I actually rushed to buy this. I stupidly bought this quite high. That's why I should also probably buy when everything's down in the dumps. So 36 million. They got a pretty good graphite project which could get a 20-year mine life. Probably not as good as ITM's. They're drilling it right now. They got the downstream. So yeah, my risk to reward seems better with ITM, although I did buy this company. So pretty decent one here too. So they get out of the ground here and they ship it to here, truck it to here, and do the rest. So How many tons do they have? 1 second. $15 million tons at 6%. So that's 6. Yeah, so not maybe 10-year mine life at best, but it looks like they could. They've only drilled this, and they can drill out all this too. So it looks like they'll get to a 30-year mine life. In 30 years, you've probably retired if you invested well anyway. So fair to say they can dig this out. Probably renewables, wind around here as well. Pretty good area, roads going through. So pretty decent company. And they do have pilot plant already in production for the downstream. I think the first in Australia to produce through graphite. So that's why they're probably ahead of ITM. But who knows? ITM could announce that as well. But pretty decent company here. And now could be the time to buy, or it could even go lower. But I don't know. Don't know what's going to happen. Just go have a look at this. Whoops. So probably never rush to buy stuff up here because it comes down. Best to rush down here. And then look, you can make the money, it just goes away, but at least you went too far down. Anyway, this company could become a $100 million company in 2025. Wouldn't bet against it, so I think it's high probability. Maybe just have to wait. Another company, Mason Graphite. Stock price. So this company actually has 10 million in cash, and they have $10 million worth of shares in another company, a graphene company, and they have one of the largest deposits in the world at 30% grade, which is super high grade. But for some reason it's 21 million, and they're going to do a joint venture on the project now with another company, but it's extremely low, and better to buy here than to buy up here when the news breaks. So I think the capex is quite high, so they have to spend like $200 million just to get out of the ground, where ITM I think is spending probably closer to 100 million. So that's one thing I'd say, because they're out in the middle of nowhere to say in Canada. But do your own research on that. What else can I say? And then you can buy the neighbor for Green Battery Minerals Inc. Who pretty much is them if they drilled for about 3 more years more and had a bit more cash. So they got graphite at surface, high grade as well. TSX/BGM. Only 3 million, so for 4 cents just to get some peak now when graphite goes crazy. That's a 10x just there. Because it's so low, if any news hits, I assume this will go big, and it still has a pretty good chance. It's a coin flip whether this will get in production, and when graphite kicks up and everyone's screwing out for graphite, people will think it's more likely to get in production, probably pay more. That's what I think anyway. Pretty more risky stock, probably less probable to get in production as some other ones. So that's it for the graphite wrap up. I know there's a lot of other stocks out there for graphite. And so probably this, but I probably think ITM's the best ahead because they got, just based on price, based on location, you got TO and ASX. Never look at this price, always this price. Yeah, so that's graphite down at the dumps now. Better to buy. If you buy now, you could have to wait like 5 years until it comes up. Could be next week, I don't know. But look what happens when it goes crazy. That's when you sell. You buy now when it's dull. Try minerals, pretty high chance to get in production. And that's it for this video. So as I said, I couldn't see anything decent to talk about lithium. I see graphite as the next good bet. I'll just talk about some other stock, AS2 and the ASX. These guys have a mine. Ooh, pretty good up today. They're drilling next to a pretty good mine that's making money. You can buy the mine next to them for 70 million. It's making 10 million a year EBITDA, and they're drilling right next to them. Actually did another video, so look at that. They got tin and lithium on one of the projects, which has a coin flip chance to get in production, but I assume that drill ounce with chrome tune to pro shoot up. Yeah, that's all I'll say. Don't know why I went down this rabbit hole. Anyway, that's it for this video, and see you in the next one.